when I started, I never even thought of talking to Rob Halford.
It's very weird choice.
I love the super heavy, hardcore street metal stuff.
You are still just a fan of heavy metal.
You're my family, you're my life, and I love you more than anything in this world.
I have to confess, I think I shed a tear during Love Me Forever.
Lemmy was an angel to me, and he really saved my life. And, so if it wouldn't have been for Lemmy, all these great things wouldn't have happened. So that's my story.
Hello, you metal pilgrims, and welcome to the new interview episode of the show. And today I'm more than happy to welcome nobody else but the metal queen herself, Doro Pesch. Doro,
hey,
thank you so much for finding time to join me. How are you?
Oh, hey, very good, very good. I'm so happy to talk to you, and the new album is getting released soon, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited to talk to you about it. And actually, I got the picture disc here. I got it last night, and this is the picture disc. Wait.
Whoa, nice.
That's the one. So, for people who like to collect all that stuff, and it's a double album, and so
this is awesome.
That's and here, this is a little timeline. I don't know if you can see it. That's from when we started. That's my first band, the black and white picture was Snakebite, and then you can see all the good people, Dio and Lemmy and Pete Steele and Rob Halford, and that's the vinyl. I'm still old school. I love vinyl. And
look at that! Look at this! Look at this!
I see.
I collect records.
Wow, my favorite record from Judas Priest. That's the reason why Living After Midnight is on there, a duet with Rob Halford. So I'm so happy.
This is amazing. This is amazing, and I cannot wait to get your double album, in my hands and hold it in my hands and play it in my, one of my record players very, very soon. I'll be able to send it a little bit earlier so I can, prepare for it.
Yes, we will make sure you get it early. Yes, I just got it, just the proof, and I'm so happy.
Awesome. But also, before anything, huge congratulations on your 40 years in metal that you're celebrating right now. Honestly, you are a true inspiration for so many women and men around the world. That it is just unbelievable. So congratulations, and here is to 40 more, at least.
Yes, let's do it. I'm so happy. Thank you so much for your kind words, and I want to say hi to everybody, and thank you so much for all this great support in 40 years. Man, I didn't think that we would last 5, 6, 7 years or more, and now it's 40 years, and time was flying by, and all these great, festivals and touring, and I met all my heroes. When I started, I never even thought of talking to Rob Halford or Lemmy or Dio, and then I could work with everybody. And Gene Simmons, he was one of our producers. I was a big Kiss fan growing up, and I tell you, man, I'm so blessed and I'm so grateful. It's awesome. And the fans, it's all because of the fans.
This is unbelievable, and this is great.
It possible.
And it is a true joy for all of us in the heavy metal family, because I feel like heavy metal fans are a family worldwide. That you're with us and with everything that you do for heavy metal.
Yes, I live for the fans. You heard me maybe saying that in other interviews. I made up my mind. I was in New York, and one day I woke up and I thought, today I want to choose my priorities, and and I wanted to have whatever I was thinking about when I was young. I wanted to have dogs and horses and a family and kids and getting married and music and fans. And then I thought, okay, my priorities are the fans, number one, and the music. And I made that decision, and I'm totally dedicated to the fans, to the music. There's nothing else in my life which is that important. And I was happy that I made this decision. I'm really, really grateful, and grateful that the fans are still there and we can still go full force.
This is wonderful, and that's why we all bow to the metal queen.
Thank you so much, guys and girls. You're my life. You're my family. You're my life, and I love you more than anything in this world.
Now, you started talking about this, you showed it already, but of course, the biggest news about Doro Pesch in the coming days already, it's less than a month now, I think, is the release of your new studio album, Conqueress Forever Strong and Proud. It will be out on October 27th, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. Yes, that's right. That's right. And yeah, I got the vinyl, which is more important to me, but I got the CD, and that's the CD.
Great.
And it has 20 songs on it, and I think 20 killer tracks. This is the limited edition, has the 5 bonus tracks on, but the bonus tracks are cool. For example, the Four Horsemen. I toured with Metallica in the early 80s, and I still remembered Cliff Burton. He was so cool. And so I wanted to give thanks for, 40 years of Kill 'Em All, Metallica album, and and all the other, and we have killer duets on it. I mentioned Rob Halford before. 2 duets with Rob Halford. I can't believe it. He's such a great guy. And one is Living After Midnight, old Priest classic, what you just said, the British steel. And then we met last year at Hellfest in France, and we were hanging out backstage, and Hellfest is a great festival, huge. And so we were talking, and then Rob said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm just like finishing my new album. Next year's 40th anniversary, thanks to you guys, because there was my first tour in Europe, 1986, with Judas Priest." So so Rob was asking me, I'm in the middle of mixing and recording. I said, yes. And then we both looked at each other, smiled. And I said, "Rob, are you thinking what I'm thinking?" And he said, "Yes, let's do something together." And he said, "What would you like to do?" And I said, I would love to do Living After Midnight, because it always made me feel good. I was singing it many times in the 80s with other bands or support bands. And that was before we had All We Are. And and then I said, Living After Midnight. He said, let's do it. He said, "I have a wish. I would like to record a song which I wanted to do for a long time with you." And I said, "Really, with me?" He said, "Yes, Total Eclipse of the Heart." And I thought, wow, so we made a metal version of Total Eclipse of the Heart, and I think it's a total highlight of the album. And we're filming a video. Rob, he did already his parts, and on Monday I will film the video for Total Eclipse of the Heart. So this will come out the day the record will come out, 27th of October. That's the release of the album and the release of the new single and video. And so I'm all excited, you can imagine.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I heard the album. Of course, I received all of this from the label, but I also heard it back at Wacken, backstage.
Yes, you came to the listening session.
Yes. I was actually able to get to Wacken Open Air because of Rob Halford. So I'm very, very thankful.
Really? Oh, wow, that's killer, man. Oh, but I'm so glad.
Absolutely amazing. I love how you guys, were able, you didn't really make it, unbelievably heavy, but you still made it your own. I think it was great. It was very unexpected, but at the same time, really Yeah. Do you know why Rob decided to, invite you to do this song? It's very weird choice.
Very unusual. Absolutely. No. I don't know. I think he just loves it. He just loves it. And he said he wanted to do it with me for many, many years. I had no idea. And I guess, he likes lots of musical styles and songs. And I think that was one of his absolute favorites. And I could tell when I heard him singing it, I could tell he was so passionate about it and so into it. And then I thought, oh man, I better do a good job, because he was like giving it his all. I could tell, he really loves that song. So man, I would have never thought he would pick this one, but it's awesome and I love it. And since the record has 20 songs, there's some killer heavy songs on it. For example, I Will Prevail. I think that's the most heavy song on this album, and many anthems. And then I thought, oh, Total Eclipse is better.
Well, I think Conqueress is a very diverse album, and that's what I personally liked about it. But in addition to it, it is also rather motivational, and especially in its lyrics. And for example, I, as a Ukrainian, could really connect to it, in some way. So can you talk a little bit about this whole theme of this record, and whether you really tried to put that motivational aspect in it on purpose?
On one hand, songs, they're just coming out, and when I feel, oh, this idea has some magic, then I immediately go into the studio, put it down. But I wanted to have a record which would be uplifting, which would give power and energy to the fans, to the people, and yeah, and have positive energy, like, you know. And our work title was Forever Strong, Forever. I'm sorry, that was the last time. Forever Strong and Proud. But I thought it needs one more title, and then at first it was Conquistador, the Spanish form, but then I thought maybe not many people know this word, and then I thought, yeah, Conqueror, and then Conqueress, I thought, the female form, and it should give people power, and, you know, like, yeah, give him something to believe in, and, you know, lift him up. So that was definitely intentional, and yeah, and when I listen to the songs, then it lifts me up too. And it's sometimes, it's so weird. You write a song, but then it has a life of its own, and that's beautiful, you know. But yeah, it was definitely to give power to the diehard fans, because times are so tough, and, you know, worldwide. So I think the more positive energy, the better. And yeah, since we're all a family, you know, I wanted to try extra hard, extra good, you know. That's the reason why it has 20 songs. At first the record company said, hey, 9-10 songs is enough in this day and age, you know, with Spotify and all that stuff. And I said, no way, man, I have my 40th anniversary, I definitely need to have more. And then I said, yeah, maybe 11, 12. And then it became 20, and I made sure that all the 20 songs are on this album. And
you know what is weird though? Despite it having 20 songs, it doesn't feel overstretched at all. I mean, I personally can listen to it on one take, and that's exactly what journalists and just people who are there at Wacken listening party, that's exactly what they said. And despite all that diversity, it is in fact very coherent, which kind of allows you to go through it on just one breath.
Yes, and it is how I feel. I love the super heavy, hardcore speed metal stuff, and I love the super soulful, sensitive stuff as well. And I love anthems. Like one of my favorites is the opening track, Children of the Dawn. We will do a video out of it as well. And yeah, so I love it all. It's not that I prefer only heavy stuff or only anthems. I love the whole spectrum. I love the whole spectrum of human, you know, nature, human feelings, and, you know, and I this time I thought it's so important to have, like, you know, like lyric wise. For example, the first single was called Time for Justice. You know, like it. I love it. It is more. Yeah, I love it. Oh, good. Oh, it makes me so happy. Yeah, I think, you know, there are no bullshit lyrics on there, I think. You know, sometimes it can be a good rock song, you know, like on the last record, everything was a little bit more light. So we had some songs like Blood, Sweat, and Rock and Roll, you know, which makes you feel good. That's important too. But on this album, I thought, yeah, it has to be like really deep, and that people can really, like, you know, feel something and have something to hold on to in dark and evil times too.
And do you write most of your songs still with Andreas Brun, or do you like receive more feedback now from other members of your band as well?
Yeah, actually, the most songs I write with Andreas, and when I have an idea, then I always send it to Andreas, because I know he knows me well. We are a good team since 1996. Wow. That's when I met him, and yeah, man, and for such a long time. So and especially the songs which are very, very important to me, I always, you know, go to Andreas, because he understands, and he has like the sensitivity and soulfulness it takes for, you know, songs which I feel are very important. So for example, last time I was on the plane and I went to Lemmy's funeral, and I was so sad and, you know, shocked. On one hand, I was thinking on all these great moments with Lemmy, and then I had this idea, living life to the fullest for Lemmy, and I sang it on my cell phone. I was in the plane, everybody said, hey, put down the phone. I said, no, I gotta sing it, it's important. And then I sent it right away to Andreas, and, you know, and he did such a good job out of it. So the really soulful things, I always go to Andreas. And Children of the Dawn, I wrote with our new bass player, Stefan Herknoff is his name, and he's a cool guy. He's like 2 meters tall, man. You know, he's like unbelievable. He's an animal, but very, very nice and sweet, and he has his own studio. So we did Children of the Dawn and I Will Prevail. And with our new guitar player, Bill Hudson, we wrote Fire in the Sky. And yeah, and the rest I did with Andreas, or I did by myself. So yeah, but we recorded all over the world, in America, in Germany, in Hamburg most of the time with Andreas.
Quite a killer team now with you. I know Bill for quite some years now, and with Stefan and with Dee, who apparently has an amazing voice, as we all found out recently. A really, really strong team, and I feel like it might be the strongest team you've had in a long time, and you feel like one unit these days, which is amazing.
Good. That's good when you say that. Yeah, I always try to make the best out of each year, each situation, and and it was tough with the pandemic, to even do this album. There was total lockdown. I thought, man, I want to record. I was all like ready, and then we kind of did it like in different ways, but that was okay too. And when there's when it's a good idea, you will always find a way.
Of course. And talking about that 40th anniversary show of yours, on which you, of course, invited a gazillion guests. I mean, you name it. Udo was there, Anthrax was there, Blind Guardian, Motorhead, of course, and everybody else. There's so many people there. So how was it performing with all those guys on stage for you on one hand? And on the other one, how was it specifically paying tribute to the person whom we all love and miss so much?
Lemmy. Oh yes, Lemmy. Yeah, I was so glad. Yeah, like everybody came up on stage singing together. We wanted to rehearse one day before, but in Wacken there was so heavy rain that we almost was like scared that the whole festival would be, canceled. But they just said, no, we will not cancel. So most of the guests, they didn't make it to rehearsal. They were standing 10 hours in traffic. But the one who came to rehearsal was the one who had the longest way. I think he flew 20 hours. It was Joey Belladonna of Anthrax. He was the one who showed up for rehearsal. And then we did Raise Your Fist, one of our songs. We did Antisocial, one of their songs, which is actually the original songs by Trust, this French band I always loved. Oh man, I was a big Trust fan, and so they all hopped on stage without rehearsal, and everything went smooth, went great. And then towards the end, we did Mickey D was the Motorhead drummer who's now in Scorpions, and Phil Campbell. We did Love Me Forever and Ace of Spades. And then the Wacken people, they had a big surprise for us. 2 days before the festival took place, Thomas Jensen, one of the guys who was putting on Wacken, he said, can you guys rehearse Ace of Spades? And I said, okay, 2 days before, okay, let's do it. Yeah, we have a surprise. We have a big show, like a drone show. And I said, oh, that's cool. So we played Ace of Spades, last song, and then Lemmy's face was in the air. His head was on, his cigarette still in his mouth, and this cigarette was smoking, was blowing smoke. I don't know how these drones did it. So it was really spectacular. It was so amazing. And it was a big family. And I saw actually many Ukraine flags, because when I watched the audience, everybody, that was awesome. And and Udo Dirkschneider was there. Everybody was there. So in Dusseldorf, we will celebrate the second time, because Dusseldorf was my former hometown where everything started. I started, the first album came out 83, 84, Burning the Witches. But my first bands I had in 1980. So everybody's coming, and we have some ladies there too. Alissa White-Gluz of Arch Enemy, she's flying over from Canada. Tarja Turunen, the ex-singer of Nightwish. Jennifer Haben of Beyond Black, she's coming. We will probably sing Love Me Forever, the song of Motorhead too, say thanks to Lemmy. Then maybe Mille of Creator is coming, and maybe Biff of Saxon, and we have many more guests, and Sammy Amara. I don't know if you know him, of Broilers. Yeah, you do. Okay. Yeah, they're coming from Düsseldorf, and they invited me last year to be a guest at their shows in Düsseldorf, and I said yes. And they're more punk rock, and I'm more heavy metal rock, but we hit it off right away. And then we wrote the last song for this album, Bond Unending, just came out 2 weeks ago. Has a nice video. Wacken is in there as well. And so he's coming up on stage, and we will definitely do Bond Unending. And
this is really, really excited. And I cannot wait to see it on a DVD when it comes out, hopefully.
Yes. Oh, I tell you, it will be probably the last Blu-ray and DVD we're making because everybody is doing the streaming and stuff and Netflix. So it will be probably the last one. But I said I definitely want to have it filmed and on DVD.
Yeah.
And it will be a Wacken show will be on, Dusseldorf show will be on, and then some really special highlights and stuff. And yeah.
And talking about that Wacken show, I have to be honest with you, and I have to confess, I think I shed a tear during Love Me Forever. I was actually, I couldn't hold it. And, the same as you, I was traveling from Ukraine under special permission, under heavy rain to come there. No one knew what was happening. And then hearing you paying tribute, and especially with one of what I consider one of the greatest songs Motorhead have ever written, Love Me Forever.
Yes.
So that's very touching.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I loved it. And my drummer, actually, he was singing, some Lemmy parts as well, because that was my very first duet ever. And my first duet with Lemmy in 2000. And we did 2 duets, actually, Love Me Forever, because I love that song so much, and Alone Again. That's on the Calling the Wild album. And Alone Again was an acoustic song, and Lemmy wrote it on his acoustic guitar, and he could play great guitar. I didn't know that. Nobody, realized he was a great guitar player as well, and I have great memories, and I miss him so much. I miss Lemmy and Ronnie James Dio every day.
And overall, I feel like these 40th anniversary shows of yours, they're not only about Doro, but they're the celebration of everything heavy metal. And you specifically have been one of the biggest promoters of unity in heavy metal overall, and especially in the last couple of years, and especially on this Conqueress Forever Strong album with its lyrical themes and just everything. And seeing you up on stage with all those, legendary metal musicians, I couldn't stop thinking about how much fun it looked like you personally had. So do you feel like, despite rocking the world for 40 years now and having countless fans of your own, deep inside, you are still just a fan of heavy metal and all those bands?
Yes, absolutely. I'm still a fan. I love going to concerts. Still my heroes, like Motorhead, Dio. My first concert I've ever seen in 1980 was Whitesnake. Boy, and I thought, wow, David Coverdale, he was such a god. And my second concert was Judas Priest, and support band was Accept. And then the third one was Dio. Yeah. So I was definitely growing up, with great bands, and I still love them. I'm still a big Kiss fan, and then I had the great chance to work with Gene Simmons. Was 89, 90, and that's a funny story. I was doing my vocals. We were starting in New York, but then we went to LA. We recorded in the same studio where Kiss recorded Hot in the Shade. And Gene was he was great producer, very caring, very intelligent. And and he said, Doro, look into my eyes when you sing, when you put your vocals down. And I said, Gene, I can't. You make me nervous. He said, why? And I said, because you are the demon and you are Gene Simmons. And he said, shall I go into the lobby and you do it? And I said, yes. So Tommy Thayer, he was recording the vocals, and then we always told Gene to come back in and to see, if he likes it. But it was too overwhelming, still being a big fan, So one day, Dean came running in. He said, Doro, there's something on TV. You got to see it. I'm in the lobby and I see something on TV. And I said, oh, I don't care. I'm just having such a good time putting on this vocal and stuff. He said, no, I think it will be interesting. And I said, no, I don't care. He said something about Germany. I said, oh, I don't care. I was so into the recording. He said, no, I think you should see it. And then he took me by the hand. And then we were standing in front of the TV, like hand in hand. And I saw the wall was coming down. That was in 89. I thought, wow. And I didn't even know about it, because when I'm working on a record, I'm just like every night, 24 hours, sometimes in the studio, And yeah, and then I was watching that on TV, and that was even possible. That was unbelievable. So that was one of my greatest memory on Gene Simmons, like standing hand in hand and watching, and wow, the world is changing. Wow. So, but he was great, man, and we're still friends, and I'm still friends with all the bands I toured with, like, and Judas Priest was my first band I've ever toured with in a big way, 1986, and this friendship was like, all along, and now we did 2 duets. I'm so grateful and so excited, and
This
it's
is
awesome.
this is so great to see that you are not losing the passion for metal. It's not just business like
No.
It is truly your passion, and it is. And as a person
Absolute.
seen you live, and especially at it was very visible at this Wacken performance. Maybe because it was very emotional for me as well. But you can really see this passion being transformed and transcended on stage. So
yes. From this first day on, and now it got even worse. I'm so into shit. So I always loved it. I always loved the fans, but now I think I can appreciate it more. When I was young, when I was 15, 16 years old, we were just rebellious and having fun, but now I can really deeply appreciate it. And and every day, every concert, every club show, every festival, doesn't matter. But when I feel that I can touch people's heart, when I feel there's a deep connection, that's what I live for. And and I'm hoping that we can still tour in the Ukraine, because I got the best people, so many friends. It was so unbelievable. And my tour manager, she was a beautiful lady with long black hair. She's now working for Wacken a little bit. I just seen her, and with her husband. Her husband is playing in Udo, the guitar player. And,
I know them both. Yeah,
and we're always yeah. So so I'm hoping that we can tour with this new album.
Well,
but I know it will be tricky, and I feel for you guys. I pray for you guys every day, and I hope things will be okay. But
thank you. And I just wanted to say that you have an army of supporters and fans over here, and your support, that first video you recorded back in a day and throughout, just means the world to us. And thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I thank you guys, and for keeping strong. Stay strong, true steel, and all we are in it together. So
thank you, Doro. Well, Doro, I can keep you here forever. As you can see, talking about heavy metal is literally my biggest passion, and I can do it forever. But there is a time limit to these things, at least so people tell me. So in order to close this, can you tell us one craziest story which happened to you on the road, either with Warlock or as a solo artist already? Just one story which kind of stuck in your head, and the memory that you cherish the most.
Oh man, so many stories. Oh my God, so many stories. Yeah, one story was, we played the legendary Monsters of Rock festivals in 1986, and there was no cell phone, no computers. I know it's unbelievable, but you couldn't find out about stuff. So I heard about this festival, and I thought, yeah, it's a big festival, maybe 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 people. So we came to in England, Monsters of Rock, and I thought, oh my God. And there was suddenly like 80,000 people there. And my knees were shaking. I couldn't move anymore. I was totally paralyzed. And, everybody said, hey, guys, you have to be on stage, And I was walking there, and I was really so nervous. I'm still having stage fright, but back then it was out of this world. I always had to throw up before I went on stage, together with my guitar player. Actually, he was as nervous as I was. So I was walking slowly, and everybody said, hey, you gotta run. And then suddenly I saw Lemmy. And Lemmy, he came to me and he said, hey, Doro, have a killer show, knock him dead. And he said, man, you're shaking, right? And I said, yes, man, I'm so nervous. I didn't know 80,000 people. And then he took me in his arm, and he gave me a kiss on my forehead, and it was all wet. And then he said, okay, now, knock him dead, do good, I'm right behind you. And then I walked on stage, and I felt like $1,000,000. And I always felt this wet kiss, the wind was blowing. And I felt so empowered, lifted, and and then we did a killer show, and then I walked off stage, and then Lemmy said, "Hey, Doro, good one," and everything changed from that day on, before the show and after the show, and then everybody said, "Okay, let's give this little band a chance." And then we could hop on tour with Judas Priest in '86. There was a couple of weeks later, because we proved that we could rock good. But if it wouldn't have been for Lemmy, I probably wouldn't have been on tour and nothing. But it was the kiss of Lemmy and the hug of Lemmy. And that photo, actually, you can see in the Motorhead album, No Sleep at All.
Mm-hmm.
One day I wanted to listen to Motorhead stuff, and on the vinyl, and I saw this photo. It's black and white, and it was exactly that moment. And and then I cut it out, and then I said, "Hey, Lemmy, it's Doro, of Warlock. We are now at the same record company. It was way back when. It used to be SPP." And I sent it to the management, and I never expected, like hearing back from Lemmy, because I know how it is, the manager, he has stuff to do. So it's probably, going into the garbage. So I didn't expect anything. So one day the phone rang, and it was the darkest day of my life, because my dad, he was my best friend, he died one day before, and I was devastated. I didn't even know if I could go on anymore. And one day later the phone rang, and it was Lemmy on the phone. And Lemmy said, "Hey, Doro, I got your letter, how you doing?" I said, "Lemmy, man, I'm so sad. My dad is gone, And he said, "You know what? I hear you're really heartbroken." Said, "Come to LA, we do something together." And he said, "Lemmy, I don't know." He said, "You better book a flight." And then I booked a flight a couple of weeks later, and I went to LA, and then we did our first duets, Love Me Forever and Alone Again. And Lemmy was an angel to me, and he really saved my life. He was so good. He was so smart. He had good things to say. And then I thought, yeah, man, it's definitely worth going on, and probably Dad will be proud of me wherever he is, hopefully in heaven. And so if it wouldn't have been for Lemmy, all these great things wouldn't have happened. So that's my story I wanted to tell you about Lemmy.
Absolutely unbelievable. This is very encouraging. Just once again shows that Lemmy was the real deal, and there will unfortunately most likely never be the other one like him, because he was the king of rock and roll, and will be forever. Well, Doro, thank you so much for finding time joining me today. Any last message for the fans all across the world? Anything you want to share with them, both old, new, and everyone in between?
Yes. Guys and girls, I love you so much with all my heart. You're deep inside my heart, for immer, forever, and we will make it. We are family. I love you. I hope I see you very, very soon. I hope you enjoy the new album. It's for you, all the 20 songs. They are like with lots of power and energy and uplifting good vibes, and power to fight. Let's fight the good fight. And I love you, and I hope I see you soon. And stay metal, keep on rocking. Lots of love.
Thank you. This was Doro Pesch, and her new studio album, Conqueress, Forever Strong and Proud, will be out on October 27th this year. Definitely check it out. I'm sure you will absolutely love it. Doro, thank you so much. Once again, it is an honor and pleasure to have you on the show, and I hope to, I cannot believe this is the first time you're here. Hope that, here's to many more.
Yes, many more. Have a good one. Thank you so much for being so kind.
Thank you.